Hey guys. Thank you for coming.
Thanks. Well, there's only one way to start a Land of the Lost panel. Are you ready, everyone?
Everybody, come on.
Marshall, Will, and Holly on a routine expedition met the greatest earthquake ever known. High on the rapids, it struck their tiny raft. You forgot.
High
On the rapids, it struck their tiny raft. And plunged it down 1,000 feet below to the land of the lost.
Where?
To the land of the lost. And then Grumpy the dinosaur goes, roar!
We like this one too, and some of you may remember the lyrics.
This is my favorite, the closing one. And I don't know if you guys ever saw Bubble Boy, Jake Gyllenhaal. He rocks this out. He pretends he's me and rocks this out. And Tenacious D, Jack Black, rocks it out with his band. It's the closing, and you never heard it because every time they would go to the end of Land of the Lost, they'd have a commercial for the next show. So here we go. When I look all around, I can't believe the things I found. Now I need to find my way. I'm lost, Find me living in the land of the lost, living in the land of the lost. Sid and Marty Croft Productions.
And then I go by on Dopey.
So this is our 50th anniversary, guys. How did you get to be so old? You just look horrible. Fortunately, we didn't change. Turn the lights off. And
to think that there was a TV screen between us, and now that technology is out of the way, and we're all sitting here together. That's really like a miracle. It really is. You know, when you were sitting there eating a bowl of cereal on the living room floor, and now we're all sitting together. That's amazing.
It really
Very
is crazy,
cool.
yeah.
Thank you for the effort that you made to come in and see us. It's really cool. Thank you.
We don't take this for granted at all. You know, Kathy and I are best friends. You know, I've always said that Sid and Marty Croft didn't just cast my family, my TV family. They gave me a real life family, including Spencer Milligan, who passed away. We found out, he passed away in April, but we only found out this last week. And we'd heard rumors that he had passed, but we couldn't confirm it. And his phone, it just went to, it just kept ringing and ringing, and his wife, they're very private. So I got a call on Tuesday from a neighbor of his in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, and just said, yes, Spencer has died. And as soon as I announced it, the obituary came out, because we've been checking, and there was nothing. And so we lost him, and we loved him. He was very, very close. And Phil Paley, who played Chaka, is still a great friend of ours. They talk every day,
We're a year apart, so we actually even worked together prior to Land of the Lost.
You did, Kathy. Why? What did you do, Kathy?
Oh, what they set up? Hold on. Bam.
So picture this, Sicily. No, picture this. Before Land of the Lost, Phil Paley, Kathy Coleman, brother, sister in a commercial for Cheez-It.
Correct.
And they're in the back of a thing, a white thing.
The Volkswagen thing.
With their parents driving the car.
Little Jeep-looking car.
Uh-huh. And they sang a song together. And they're like this, they're like babies. How old were you?
I was about maybe 9.
9. Phil must have been 7 years old, right? He's like this big. Ready? Here, this is the song they sang. Ready?
Are you ready?
Yes. Okay.
I just learned his part, and he sometimes.
I mean, I know Phil Paley, but I'll try. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like munching.
I like crunching.
We like eating Cheez-Its. Great cheese taste in every bite.
We like eating Cheez-Its.
So I like munching.
I like crunching.
We like eating Cheez-Its. I love the wild taste of cheese.
Hey, more Cheez-Its, please.
They're great crunching crackers.
That's it. Phil Paley, I know a lot of you guys know that Phil was the youngest black belt in karate at the time. He was 10 years old. His teacher was Chuck Norris. And he got the job on Land of the Lost because he was on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Chuck brought him on because Phil was all over the news at the time. He was on What's My Line as, you know, the youngest black belt in karate. And by the way, nobody guessed him. You know, he was so little, and the other boys were big, and none of the celebrities thought that was Phil Paley. But if you get a chance to see it on YouTube, so there's Phil about this tall.
Even Gene Rayburn said, if it's you in the middle, because that's where Phil was, he goes, I'll eat this card. And he tears it at the end when it's really Phil, and he starts chewing on the card. Very funny.
So Phil goes on with The Tonight Show, and of course starts, you know, and doing all the things, and Phil takes Johnny down and throws him to the floor. And Johnny gets up and runs to Ed McMahon and goes, help me. It's so funny, guys. If you ever get a chance to see it, it's really fun. But are there any questions, first of all? Anybody have a question about the show?
You mentioned Phil Paley. How uncomfortable was that?
See what you were doing just then?
Exactly.
That's what he was doing nonstop. It was itchy. And then my personal complaint about it was the paint that they used for his hands and his feet smelled like dirty socks. So he just, you know, and he'd say, you think it's bad for you every time I go like this? He goes, it's horrible.
So you guys, the episode where Phil plays a little boy, and in one of the episodes, in fact, we have a picture of it on our table, and his sister had to put on the costume and played Chaka. And she cried all day. She hated it. She was itchy. She didn't want to do it. She was, I don't want to be Chaka. I mean, you know.
But Phil really embraced it. I mean, he really turned what they handed him. He learned all that dialogue, and it was a real language, so you couldn't just mumbo jumbo some words. It had to mean consistently the same thing, you know. So he handled all of his dialogue. In some episodes, he had a ton of it, which was amazing.
I think the musician, I think it was all basically Phil.
He also gave the Chaka character like his own like personality, and he did an excellent job.
Yeah, the language
Excellent
like
job.
Oganza Bisasa, big magic, right?
Yeah.
We're Ari,
Yeah.
Marshara,
Sarisa Taka. We're Ari Marshara. That was the Marshals.
Right.
Rick and
it was a language this lady at UCLA, Fromkin, and she's passed on, but she created the language. She was a linguist, and she took 8 different languages and combined some of the rules and language of those languages and put it together. And there's actually a dictionary online you can go see. And
remember Ota,
Yeba, Ota, Ta and Sa, right? Yeah. But so it kind of, I think it was one of the first sci-fi shows that had a real language for the aliens, because now with Star Trek you have the Ferengi and you have the Klingons, right, and now it's become everybody has to now have a real language, because sci-fi enthusiasts would say, oh no, you're making this up. So it's pretty amazing. Anybody else have another question? Yeah.
Great question.
Good question.
Wow. He is of the ape family, I would say, right? A Pakuni.
Well, we don't know what his origin is. He's his own species.
So,
yeah, Pakuni.
yeah.
He was called a Pakuni. And
I don't know.
But in Land of the Lost, we don't know if he was come from Earth, had DNA.
You always call him Monkey Boy. So.
We do. We call him Monkey. Yeah. What's hysterical, guys? We'll be doing a convention together, and in the morning he'll have a banana, and I just start to laugh. I take pictures of it. He's sitting there with the banana. I'm going, oh, really, Phil? You're going to eat that right now? But no. And then there was Todd and Sa, Joji Amalva, and Sharon Baird. Now, Sharon Baird, she did most of the Croft shows. She was a smaller person. She was Sharon in the Mouseketeers. If you guys remember, if you're old enough. She was, hi, my name is Sharon. She was Sharon. And she played Sa. And she, so we just did a show with them at the Hollywood show with Todd and Sa and Sharon and Joji Amalva. And Joe's a tap dancer, and he taps it. They did most of the Croft shows. She played what?
And the question always is Ta and Saw Chaka's mom and dad? Well, we really don't know the answer to
No.
that one either. They're part of his tribe, but we don't know if they're just friends, or they're parents or what.
Yeah, I know. We never. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some unknown questions, but that was a good one
That
back
was-
there.
yeah.
Is that Cleo?
Hi, Cleo.
Remember you, Cleo.
Anybody have another question at the moment?
I don't remember exactly, but how did that end? Did you guys get back home?
No.
Or
No.
So we need
So,
to make a reunion movie now, right?
I agree.
Right?
so if we didn't get back, you know what that means?
Guess what? You're all
You're
in
in the
that,
land of the
that
lost.
TV screen. That TV screen that I was talking about earlier. We just pulled you all in.
My favorite episode is the last episode of the first season, and it's called The Circle. And David Gerald and Larry Niven wrote one of the top sci-fi writers of the planet. And it was written in case there wasn't a second season. So if you guys remember, there's a loop happening in Land Lost about to be destroyed. The mist doorway in Enix. We go to Enix Cave, and it keeps repeating itself. And suddenly the mist changes. I can see Earth. I go, Enoch, you mean we can go home? He goes, no, you must go home. 3 must leave, so 3 may enter.
So that cycle stops happening.
Right. And so what happens is, Kathy and I and Spencer, we walk through the mist doorway, and our doppelgangers come into the land of the lost as if they've never been there before.
You see
and
them coming over the waterfall.
over the waterfall. They're into the cave. It's empty. They're going, oh my God, where are we? And the whole show begins. And Enoch, and I love it. Enoch, Walker Edmondson, who played Enoch, and after the lines he goes, what was it, like Marshall family?
He says Natick, and then he says what the word Natick
Right.
means.
Well, Kathy as Holly is before we walk through the mist doorway. Kathy kisses him. She goes, Mr.
And he
Enoch.
goes, an interesting custom.
Well, is that a custom of your people?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And he goes, then good night, Dick. Live long. It was kind of like the Spock thing.
Right, live long and
prosper.
prosper. Yeah, but ours was like, live long and safe travels or something.
Something like that, yeah. So, he was quite a character. And Sid and Marty, Star Trek had just ended when we started Land of the Lost, the 3 years. And they were on the lot of Paramount. And Sid ran into Gene Roddenberry and asked, hey, I've got a new show. Would you be the head writer? Wouldn't that have been great? He said, no, but I've got a young writer named David Gerald, Trouble with Tribbles. David. He said he's a really good writer. So they brought in David. Then David brought in all the writers from Star Trek to write the first year and a half. Walter Koenig, Chekhov in the original Star Trek, created Enoch. He wrote the first episode introducing Enoch. D.C. Fontana, Larry Niven, Spinrad, Mike Westmore, who did all the Star Trek monsters, was our makeup artist, and did the Sleestack and Chaka and everything. And we asked Mike, I'm just rambling on. You can interrupt me
No,
anytime.
I won't. Go ahead.
But
You're starting to get the Sid disease.
oh my God, we do panels with Sid. We go, all right, we're gonna go listen. Sid. I have never seen a man that can talk more than Sid Croft.
But we shut up because his stories are like a gift. They
gift.
really are. They're so rich and wonderful, and we'd be robbing you to just be sitting up here just going blah, 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 while he has like these incredible stories to tell. But I have a question, if you could just kind of shout it out. My favorite episode was Elsewed, When I Meet My Future Self. That's mine. His is Circle, the one he just explained to you. What were some of your favorite episodes? If you don't have to remember the name of it, if you just remember what happened, like just briefly. Were we going downstream? That was one episode. Did we, what?
You named all the good ones.
Oh, okay.
There were plenty.
Which one? The Zarn?
Yeah.
It is. That was a cool one, huh?
I don't know, because I think he was in 2 episodes. Yeah, Snowden was his name. That played the Czar, and the voice, it was another actor that played the voice. An old character actor who was born in like 1913. He was one of the classic voice actors. But we never met him because it was all pre-recorded.
Our lovely cameraman
Guys,
has
I got
a.
a question.
Okay.
Talk about the basketball players that were sleeve sacks, and,
Right.
and also working with the incredible Richard Kiel, who played Josh
Ah.
in the James Bond movie.
A gentle giant.
Bill Lambier too.
Yeah, not so much a gentle giant, but a giant. But Richard Keel was such a sweet, sweet man. And one time, like, I was talking to the wardrobe lady who had to, like, measure him for his costume. And she said, when I measured his feet, because he was that caveman, Malachi. Malachi.
Was it Malachi?
I think so.
That was Malik.
Or maybe it was Malik.
Yeah.
Anyway, he had these like sandals that had the straps that go up the leg. And she said when she was measuring his feet, his toes were like bent under like this. And it was because they didn't back then make custom shoes like a Shaq shoe, you know? And so you just crammed your feet into whatever you could find, you know? But here he's a 7'2" man. And his wife was 5'1".
Little.
Yeah.
They met in college. He was at a bar and she was at a bar, and that's how they met. Because we would do the Star Trek convention with him, because he was in Star Trek, and Kathy and I are the only show other than Star Trek that's allowed in the major convention in Vegas, and we do it every year because of our connection with Star Trek.
Oh, I was just gonna say that the Richard Keel like toe story is kind of like the Andre the Giant,
Yeah.
who was gonna like end his education at about 7th grade because he was just so large, but he couldn't fit on the school bus anymore, and so there was one guy in Ireland in his little village that had a convertible and committed that he would get him to school every day, and it was just so lovely.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of like Richard Keel, you know, you just have to fit where you can, you know.
I agree.
And we hear, like, you guys come to our table and you share some of the most incredible, loving, wonderful stories with us. Did we not hear one of the best ones yesterday?
Yes.
A man came up, and it has nothing to do with me and ego, but it was just so sweet. He said, you know, I had the biggest crush on you. And of course, I got the nickel from
Yeah,
Wesley.
I slide a nickel over to him.
And he goes, I just loved you when I was a kid. He goes, I loved you so much. He said that I had my mom set a place setting for you at the dinner table every night.
Isn't that nice?
He said every night you would have dinner with us. And so last night we posted that on Facebook. And last night he told me, he said, there's a place setting for you here tonight. All those years later, he did it again just because we met that day.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Well, it's amazing what Kathy's character was really one of the first women that she wasn't like this shy little girl that we protected. She protected us. She was strong and she rescued us. She saved our lives, and it was an equal balance. So and for many, I see many a woman, and she's done panels with some. She did a panel recently with all the major actresses that were superheroes, the big ones, you know. And there was Kathy, you know.
And they all had their like sexy costumes on these panels, and I never had a sexy costume. I had cords and a checkered shirt.
She had an Italian
Desert-
tablecloth.
Desert boots.
In New England, that's sexy.
That is funny. Touche.
But she did the panel about, you know, and she was
Leading women. It was like leading women
Right.
who you know had ground. Like, what's her name was there from Star Trek? The black lady on Star Trek.
Nichelle Nichols.
Nichelle Nichols. She was on the panel.
Yeah, she was on the panel.
In a uniform one?
Huh?
You have a uniform on?
Everybody had like a sexy uniform story. That's what it was.
Right. Yeah, she
And
did.
I
She
didn't
didn't
have
because
a
this was.
sexy. That was the part I was
Yeah.
lacking.
And I remember, and here's the story. So Kathy was like, before we were at the table, she's going, "You got me on this panel, and you know, I don't fit into this panel." And she went to do the panel, and she did. In other words, she had, because the people in the audience had, said, "No, you were the first girl that that we could look up to, that wasn't this little whimpering, needy little thing."
And I did get a good laugh out of the audience because I told my fan when I went fan crazy over Carrie Elvis.
Oh. So we get to, you guys, we do these conventions. You guys meet, your favorite people. Well, we get to meet our favorite people. We fan out too. We get to, I have never seen her. She went never has she gone nuts.
I couldn't help myself.
So we're doing a show. She goes, oh my God, the Princess Bride, Carrie Elwood. He's coming. Carrie Elwood is coming. Tell him the story.
I got wind of it. Well, I came over my table like a hurdler like that. Because we're on a limited time and he keeps me on the choke chain. So I knew I had to fly there and get back to the table. So I grabbed an 8x10. I had my VIP celebrity pass around my neck. And I ran over to his booth. Well, he was in one of those booths because he's a big celebrity with the curtains all around it and a big old line going like this, And I didn't have time to stand in the line, and I felt guilty that I was cheating, but I had to see him, I just had to. And so I opened the curtain and I just stuck my badge in and my picture. And he goes, come in. And so I went in and we switched autographs. I gave him an autograph for his daughter and he gave me his and everything. And then he goes, come here, I gotta hug you. So he hugs me and he goes, you smell really good. Well, this was right after 9/11. And so they weren't allowing big bottles of perfume on the plane. They would confiscate them. And I was losing, I'd lost 3 really good bottles of perfume. So I just used to grab the samples then after that and just carry samples. So I never really knew what I was wearing. I'd crack one of those open, throw it all over me and, go have at it. So, so anyway, when he hugged me, he goes, wow, he goes, you smell really good. And then he said, as you wish. I thought I was going to melt when he said, as you wish. But
you remember in the movie, As You Wish?
But I did not make it back to the table right away because I beelined for my hotel room to see what I had thrown away that day in the trash can, what sample it was. Well, anyway, the plane on the way home could have crashed straight into the Macy's cosmetic department, and I'd feel like I'd lived my life.
What
just
perfume?
As long as I got the perfume.
What perfume?
It's Chanel Noir, and I wear it to this day.
Yeah.
And you know what? It really wasn't that I had such a crush on him. I have 2 boys. They're in their 40s. But when you have little kids, they want to watch the same movie a million times. So I raised my kids on The Princess Bride, so it was in our household. And so it just was it was just something very special to me.
To get along like real life brother and sister. Is there anything that
We do.
maybe behind the scenes, Land of the Lost, that bloopers or things that didn't make it? Working with that mother.
How risky do you want to go?
Well, remember now, we shot 2 episodes a week. We only had 2.5 days to shoot an episode because Saturday morning they had no budget for this. And everything had to be done. Well,
So clowning around cost the Crofts
oh, they
money,
would
and we
scream
got
at us.
in a lot of trouble. But Spencer got away with more than we did. So do you want to
No,
know?
tell him. You tell him the story.
No, you.
No, you tell him.
You.
know. Come on. Oh, please. Okay.
You will.
Oh no, you tell him.
Yeah.
Oh, I know you tell him.
Okay. And then he'll cut me off.
Yeah.
You're not telling it right. Anyway, so Spencer.
So Spencer, what he did was, we had a scene in the lagoon. We had to take our shirts off and things like that.
That's what I was gonna say.
Well, you were? Oh my gosh. No, go ahead, Tommy. I'm kidding.
No, so he gets together with the art director on the set, and he has him draw a slot machine across his chest with lemons, plums, and peaches or something. I don't know, but like an old school slot machine. And so at the lagoon, we're supposed to rip off our clothes, and we've got swimming gear on underneath,
Right.
and then dive in. Well, Spencer rips open his shirt, and because he and the art director did this on the sneak, and he's got this slot machine on his chest. Well, the whole cast and crew just fell out laughing. It was really funny, except for the fact that Marty and Sid had brought the heads of NBC that day, and it was not so funny, but
Marty came out.
it was bad.
Yeah. They were really,
Yeah, we got in a lot of trouble for that, but
Yeah.
it was
It was funny, and we didn't really care.
So Sid wasn't so bad, but when Marty came out,
No, it was Marty.
Did you go to the panel last night with Sid? Because I saw you.
He actually
guys, right?
mentions, yeah.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
like
one
Marty.
take. You got one take. That's it.
Yeah, Marty was the steel fist.
Yeah. And the only other time was I had a birthday present, and a friend of mine gave me a massage. Close your ears. And this beautiful girl came into my dressing room, and it was at a soundstage, and it had 10-foot walls that were put up, and they were open at the top because the soundstage would go up like 50 feet. And so it's lunchtime, and she brings her table, and I take my clothes off, and I'm laying there, and she's massaging me, and I'm tell her, go ahead, just tell her.
Moaning.
They heard it.
And Phil, Chaka, and I are walking by because our dressing rooms are right there
Remember,
too.
12 and 10-year-olds.
And we get wind of it. Well, Spencer headed in with the art department guy, but Phil and I hung out with the prop master, and that guy had all kinds of goodies that we could play with, right? So we get to the prop master and ask him if we can get a ladder from him. So we put up a good old ladder up against Wesley's dressing room. We climb up the ladder.
And I'm laying on the table, and I hear giggling. And I look up 10 feet in the air. There's Phil Paley and Kathy Coleman's little face goes, But Kathy and I are great friends. We both live in Palm Springs now together. Well, not together, but we in the center. Yeah. But we're about 20 minutes apart, and it's been wonderful to have her. This is the first time we've ever been in the same proximity together.
So we go to Starbucks and get fraps and.
And we started our own podcast, by the way. I don't know if you guys know. It's on YouTube. It's called Wesley and Kathy's TV Talk. We've had like 4 episodes up. We took a break this week because of Spencer's passing, and there'll be a new episode on Thursday, and we're filming it. So if you guys, it's free. So if you guys would subscribe, that would be it'd be helpful and pass the word. But
we tell some fun stories and show some pictures and things like that.
and stuff like that. Anybody else have a question? Yes, please.
how did you get through 2 episodes a week?
Crazy, wasn't it?
Easy. I got in trouble by, of course, guess who, Marty. At one time, he threatened to cut my role down a little bit because when I got the show, my mom had always promised me if I ever get a series, because I had done commercials, I'd been with a band for 2 years and did 2 national tours. But she said, if you ever get a series, because that would be, like a monthly income that I could use, that she would buy me a pony. So the day that I signed the contracts for Land of the Lost, she took me out and we got my pony that very same day. So Comanche, and that's all I ever talked about. Comanche this, Comanche that on the set all the time. They finally let me say it on the show. I got to say in one episode, I miss Comanche. So that was really cool to the writers. But anyways, so in order for me to have that pony, we had to live like an hour out of the city. So my days started like really early and they ended very late at night. And so studying lines when I got home, I was just wiped out. And so I would get to the set some days and I would forget my lines, and of course I got in trouble.
Yeah. But
I learned to somehow, some way figure it out, because I certainly didn't want my part cut. So
I don't know if you guys, I saw about a year ago, we were doing a show and they showed an episode of Land of the Lost. And I think it was the first episode after we lost our dad.
Oh, aftershock.
Yeah, and Kathy's performance, you forget sometimes as a kid how great she was as an actress and is. And I started crying. Her performance is extraordinary. Take a look at this. A few years ago, I optioned a play called Child Stars from Hell. It was a comedy written by a guy in New Orleans, David Cuthbert. And it was about 7 fictional child stars that were so broke that they had their own group therapy in the church basement because they were all messed up. And so I thought, well, let me cast it with real child stars. So Johnny Whitaker, Gary Coleman, Brendan Cruz, all these amazing child stars came to my house to do all these readings and stuff. And I remember one day we're reading and I have a part. Paul Peterson has got a part from what's Paul's?
Father Knows Best.
Father Knows Best.
The Donna Reed.
The Donna Reed Show. And all these, and it's a comedy, great. And I'm listening to these people in my living room, and they're really good. And I look, because you forget how good these.
Why they got the jobs to begin with.
They didn't obviously make the transition, right, from child star to adulthood, but they were so good. And I remember, after it was over, I said, I got to tell you all. I said, you guys, I forget. You guys are so good. I can't believe you're in my living room. I can't believe that you're here. And Johnny Whitaker, I'll never forget Johnny goes, oh, shut up, Wesley. We used to watch you on TV. And stuff like that. And that was... let's see, how are we doing on time? But anybody else yeah.
Do new generations see this show? Is it
Yes.
streaming anywhere?
Oh, it's actually streaming on 4 services now. It's Tubi, Primetime, Roku, Cineverse, and I think someplace else. Huh?
Midnight Pulp.
Is it Midnight Pulp? So we have a whole new generation that's coming to our
We have
table.
little kids that can't even see over the table barely, and they're pointing and they're going, and there's Chaka, and there's Enoch, and they're pointing to our pictures and naming the characters.
Yeah.
So parents introduce their kids to it, and grandparents, and
My favorite's when little girls come up and women come up dressed as Kathy, with the pigtails and the red checkered, red white checkered, and the cords and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah. You're not allowed within 100 yards. Anyway, so. Yes.
You were on Days of Our Lives when
I
you
was.
started doing Land of the Lost.
Yeah.
What was the pacing like working on soap opera and then going into Land of the Lost?
Well, I got the job. I don't know if you guys saw his panel last night, Sid's. But I went to a pool party. There were like 5 of us. A friend of mine says, hey, you want to go to Sid Croft's house swimming? I go, well, okay, sure. So, and Sid and I talked all day at his home, his beautiful home. And he lives in a house that you would hope Sid Croft would live in. 3 acres in the hills in Los Angeles. And it looks like a Hobbit house with all the nooks and crannies and the fireplace. It's all crooked and everything. And we talked all day, and he said, listen, I've got a new show. Here's the casting director's number. Call her tomorrow, which was Monday. I want you on my show. And I called her. I went in, and it was mine. And so I was on NBC, Days of Our Lives, and this was an NBC show. So they made an arrangement that I could do both shows. And so I could do for 3 years, I got to do all my scenes on Days of Our Lives in the morning, and the cast hated me. They all hated me because I got to go in, do all my scenes, and they had to wait around. So whatever scenes I were in, I'd get, and then I would leave. And we'd drive over to Hollywood from Burbank's, NBC Burbank, over to Hollywood to do Land of the Lost. So in the morning, I'm crying that my girlfriend's leaving me. I'm having sexual problems. The mafia is after me. My wife is dying of leukemia. And then in the afternoon, I'm going, run, Holly, run. There's a dinosaur. There's a little schizophrenic. Because I was 22. I was playing 16 on Days of Our Lives. So I'm very old. And but in fact, when I got the call to do Land of the Lost, I actually had thought about it. I thought, do I really want to play 16? And I'm so glad that I said yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of, because everybody get back to the show. Well, you can go in, because
it wraps in 2.5 hours. I
Yeah.
think.
Any final questions or anything before we take off?
Question.
Oh, okay. One more.
When you say you forgot your lines and stuff, did they not give you like a kind of a teleprompter back then? Or
Oh, nothing like
Just
that.
that all memory, huh?
Yeah, they would send us home with a script at night, and we'd go home and read our parts for the next day, and when they were going to shoot, like the sequence, they were going to shoot them during the day, and then when we get in there, they'd hand us sides that were rewrites that they did overnight. So sometimes our dialogue would get changed, and what you memorized the night before isn't the same, and they've due to scheduling, they decided now we're not going to shoot that one first, or and then hurry up and go to school for an hour. Let's get an hour of your schooling. So I had to go to school 3 hours a day on the set. They'd say, let's get an hour out of the way, go and do that. And so now I'm in there doing like a history class or math or something, and then back out on the set, and it's like just a whirlwind of,
So did you like try to cheat and like, I can't remember these now, write it on your hand or something? Or?
No, but I should have.
No, we didn't cheat. Listen, guys, from the bottom of our hearts,
Y'all
I mean,
had really good questions today, by
Yeah.
the way.
thank you guys for showing up, and thank
And
you so much.
If you have any more questions, you know where we are.
Yeah, we'll see you guys there.